name is Kay Byfield, and this is your ArtSpeaks Studio moment from ArtSpeaks Studio in Dallas, Texas. And today we're going to talk about 10,000 hours. In 2008, Malcolm Gladwell's book, Outliers, became a major sensation. In it, Gladwell asserts that it takes a minimum of 10,000 hours of practice for someone to master any new skill. And since the publication of the book, this has become a very accepted principle. But 10,000 hours is a really major commitment for any golfer, dancer, engineer, or artist. While there are plenty of Gladwell critics who dispute his conclusions, it is absolutely clear that it takes a lot of practice to become good at something. 10,000 hours at 3 hours per day of practice would be 9 years to get good at something, to master it. And that's a major commitment. I can tell you, however, that people who practice more get better faster. But some people don't need to practice as much as others to get better. And that's because somehow they have a facility for something, and so it goes a little faster. Other people go more slowly. Some people never master those skills. I tell art students, I don't know who has talent and who doesn't. I certainly can't tell in the first year or two of painting because there are so many factors that go into whether someone will actually get good. All I can tell you is I don't know if I have talent, and I've been painting for 45 years. What I do know is that success requires that you have a genuine interest in whatever it is you're trying to learn, that you have the kinds of intelligence, which is what I'm calling talent, that you have the kinds of intelligence necessary to master the skill, and that you have the ability to acquire intermediate skills that will build toward mastery of the entire field. The other thing is that mastery requires the ability to take risks and to be willing to accept risks and learn from them. And the people that I know who do not master these skills and who are bright enough and are practicing enough, sometimes it's because they don't have the confidence. They aren't willing to take those risks. 10,000 hours will never be enough if your practice is just casual. You must be dedicated. You must be intentional in the way that you practice those skills. You have to set goals for yourself that are limited and specific, and then you have to learn from the failures in order to continue to improve. There is a common trajectory to learning anything. And in art, I can describe what that trajectory looks like. Early efforts tend to be poorly executed because you don't know how to handle the media yet. They are poorly designed, and usually they aren't very thoughtful. But as a person becomes more skillful, has had an opportunity to look at the work that other people are doing and learn from those as well, and has thought through what it is they're really trying to accomplish, the work gets better over time. But 10,000 hours is a long time. So today I'd like to give you an example of how those 10,000 hours can play themselves out. And my example is an old friend of mine whose name was Joan K. Hauser. I met Joan years ago when I hadn't been painting but a few years, and Joan became an example to me of what was possible. She was an extremely accomplished painter. I met her in Slidell, Louisiana when we first moved there, and she was sitting for an exhibition of the Slidell Art League. And so I walked around the room, and there were 3 paintings that clearly were better than everything else in the show. And they won Best of Show, first place in watercolor, and second place in watercolor. And I couldn't imagine how one person could take all the prizes and be clearly better than everyone else, even to people who didn't know anything, like me. So I went up to the lady who was docenting the show, and I asked her who was Joan Pate Hauser. She turned a little red and admitted that it was her, and I decided she was somebody to know. When Joan died, some of her friends and I got together, and we took all the paintings that she had accumulated under the bed, and we framed them, and we mounted a show for her at one of the local community art groups, and to sell her works to get some money for her orphan daughters. As a thank you, the family gave us each a couple of paintings, and I also got this piece, which was an early painting of hers. I don't know when it was done, but I would guess it would be 20 or 25 years later or earlier than the ones that I'm showing you now. The reason I'm guessing that is because her name is different on this painting. Here it shows it as Joan Pate Davis, and she was married for a short time before she married her second husband. And so I'm guessing it was 20, 25 years. This doesn't look any better than any of the beginner paintings I ever get in my beginning watercolor class. This painting of Joan's hangs in my living room. Like most of Joan's work, she was experimenting when she did it. She had found a large skull and wanted to build a painting with it. She decided to float 3 versions of the shape and a pattern she invented and use a limited red-green palette. As I remember, this painting won a Best of Show award in a Louisiana competition. This painting of Joan's hangs in my bedroom. I love the freedom of the invented flowers and birds. In this one, she used pastel colors, graded washes, and lines that weave everything together. It's very creative. The eye moves around the painting, and it is so well done. I've decided that it's impossible to know if I have talent, but I do think Joan did. I just don't know what talent is. I think the biggest difference between Joan and I is that Joan was much less reluctant to take risks. She was constantly trying new things. If she felt like a painting was okay but not great, she would wipe it all out. She would spatter all over it. She would do anything. She would try radical things to make it a big mess and then pull it back out to make it special and unusual. I've never had the guts to do that, but I recognize that there's real merit in it. I think Joan progressed far faster than I have. I feel like I'm working really hard now. And all I can tell you is that if you're going to get good at this, if you're going to invest that 10,000 hours, you have to stop worrying about the 10,000 hours and you have to enjoy the moment you're in. As they say so often, it's a process, not a product. You never know where it's going to lead you. I think that Joan would have done what she did even if she'd known that her life was going to end when she was only 45. I know that I would. There is so much joy in painting. So I wish you every happiness. Try to take those risks, joyfully go out there, try new things, set goals for yourself, and I think you will have better success. And I wish you joy. Happy painting.